Hello everybody and welcome to Absurd Hypotheticals, the show where we overthink dumb questions so you don't have to. I'm your host Marcus Lehner, and I'm joined here today by Chris Yee and Ben Storms. Say hi, guys.
Hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, I'm Ben. And I actually saw something so as you know, I use Twitter pretty frequently because I'm...
So I've heard.
Yeah.
It's all over the Twitter.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And one of the accounts that I follow is actually an account called Our Legal Advice. And it's basically, there is a subreddit on Reddit called Legal Advice where people ask for legal advice. I know, very complicated. And this Twitter account basically just finds like ridiculous things from that and screenshots them and posts them up.
Oh no.
And there was one this morning, which was about this guy in the UK who got gas, or petrol, because he was in the UK. And the total, he wanted to get 10 pounds of gas. Like the currency, not the weight, in case that wasn't obvious.
I was like, it's a weird way to measure gas.
Yep. And it went a little over, and it was 10 pounds and 3 pence. And so he gave the teller a 10-pound note and said he didn't have the 3 pence. He had another 10-pound note, but he didn't want to use that. He didn't want to break it for the 3 pence, and he wanted the guy to just give him the 3 pence of gas free.
Ooh.
So the guy was like, no, just give me the fucking money. And this guy calls the UK equivalent of 911.
Oh god.
What is it there? What number is it?
999, apparently.
999.
Which makes sense. It's just, nines. I don't know.
Hey, it's good to know.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Over in the UK.
Exactly. Here's your little more you know thing. But the thing he was actually asking about on legal advice was not whether he was, in the right or not, because clearly he was a fucking moron, and that's what 999 told him was give them the money and don't call emergency services for this. But the police department then put the audio of it on Facebook saying, hey guys, don't be idiots and call 999 for shit like this.
Oh no.
So he was basically asking if he could sue the police for putting his, stupidity on the internet. And what's great is that by doing this, he made sure that so many more people heard him being a complete moron.
I feel like if your thought starts with, can I sue the police?
Right.
You're probably already in the wrong.
Right. Well, current political climate, maybe not, but...
Okay, so yeah, there's definitely occasions for it. But
right.
I feel like on the mundane shit like this, yes.
No, yeah. So...
Oh god, I don't get, do they snap? Where do you just pull out your phone and call 911 over a dispute?
Well, I don't. It's not even like he didn't have the money. He was just he didn't want to carry around change,
which is understandable. I hate change. Change is annoying.
Which but still, man, rational responses here, guy. I don't know.
How many of these dumb calls do you think they get every day?
Oh, I'm sure it's a lot. I mean, that's why they put it up on Facebook, is trying to, cut down on it.
Also, that's why it's a crime to call emergency services with something that's bullshit.
Right, yeah, exactly. That's where it was I was seeing something, there was a response to the post that was yeah, the other day I was trying to call the police because I saw someone getting stabbed from my garden. It took me 6 minutes to get through. It's because of assholes like you. And I was like, wow, way to go, UK.
Sure, it's not just the UK.
Well, no, yeah, clearly, but...
Well, the UK might just have the one guy on the line, who knows?
True, yeah.
Anyhow, we have some questions to do, and our first question is a tricky one. It is, what if shadows didn't exist?
We had to decide what this actually meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of the first tricky bit of this, was what does it actually mean, shadows not existing? Because shadows, the absence of light, so shadows themselves aren't a thing that exists. So... the way light works is when it hits matter, it can do any one of these three things: absorption, reflection, and transmission. Absorption being where it sucks up the light and turns it into heat. Reflection being it just kind of bounces off and then you see colors. And then transmission being the wavelength of the light kind of matches the object, and so it just vibrates through it and isn't affected too much. That's like if it goes through something transparent, which doesn't leave a shadow. So the first thing I was thinking when we were working on this question was, what if light was only transmitted through everything? And this is kind of how I thought we could do it physically. Turns out, basically, the end result of this is that one, everything suddenly becomes invisible. Everything suddenly becomes very cold. And we all die in an empty void.
Basically, the Earth is just a chunk of outer space that still has matter, but
yeah,
it's just as cold and just as
anything.
impossible to see.
So what we did instead was we took a loose interpretation saying, hey, if light hits something, it still hits it like normal, but that object will just emit that much light off the back. So admittedly, if you're physics inclined like we are, you might note, hey, this doubles the amount of energy you have. And the answer is yes, but we mostly ignored it in the purposes of answering this question, because that's not really what we want to do, because making the universe ignite into fire also wasn't super great for what we wanted to do.
Also, we've done that in like a quarter of these episodes, so you can find one of those if you want it.
Like episode number 2.
Yeah. It was probably the first of many.
We blow up the universe a lot. We're going to try not to do that.
Right, when possible.
Yeah, so when you're thinking of this question, just imagine normal world, but all the shadows they're not there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was still fairly big picture with this one. I started looking at different ecosystems on our planet and how not having shadows would affect those. And the first one that came to mind was dense forests, like the rainforests, because basically the way it works there is that you have your tree canopy at the top, which, blocks almost all the light going down below. And then, at the base, you have a little bit less life. You have like some fungi and the animals and stuff, but the trees are the ones blocking all the lights because they're big assholes. So if the trees weren't blocking the light like big assholes, what happens? And so you're going to see, obviously, a big uptick in the amount of plants down there because they couldn't survive before because they didn't get enough sunlight. So now there's sunlight everywhere, and you can actually just start growing more and more and more plants out on the forest floor. And weirdly, I think the plant that would still do best is probably still trees. So you might just have more and more and more trees, even denser than the rainforests are already.
It's just like a solid block of trees.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like a forest that's impossible to walk through.
Right.
Yeah, and this is definitely a possibility. I'm not sure what the nutrient limitations on trees are, but I know like the reason why trees are spaced like they are most of the time is that they are, kind of claiming light space.
Right.
And if the tree kind of blocks out its circle so that it can, that's where its leaves are, and it's the tallest tree, so anything below it's just going to die. But now that that's not true, there's just going to be fucking trees.
Are they just going to all like smush
everywhere.
into each other and like condense into a tree block?
I think it's basically just like a garden, like hedge. It's just like a giant block of hedge.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, only it's like 100 feet high and solid wood.
Right, exactly.
So I think trees are going to be the ultimate winners. The ultimate losers are definitely going to be fungi.
Yes.
So I always knew they grew better like in dark and moist places. And so the moist isn't too much of a problem, but now it's no longer dark. What I didn't know was that the heat and energy from light is actually fatal to most fungi. Not that they just don't grow as well in it and that they, take advantage of the places where other plants don't grow. No, it just kills them. So no more fungi, which is going to be...
It's a good thing. I don't like mushrooms.
I don't like mushrooms. Yeah, more room for berry bushes. Fuck the mushrooms.
I
got that summer palette. So basically we're just going to have stacked forests. So which is actually... This is the first time I think we said plant life is going to improve.
No, I said it at one point. I don't remember the context of it.
It has happened exactly once in the time, amongst all the times we also kill all the planets.
So now we're like 2 for like 12 probably killing all the plants.
Something like that.
Fungi are still, I think, 0 for whenever we talk about them. They're always dying.
They don't actually come up that much.
I think it's the only time we've talked about them.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the forests. And then the second thing I looked at was the ocean.
Hey, that's something we've talked about.
We definitely talk about the ocean a lot. So I am going to, spoilers, not going to save the ocean.
Oh no.
So the majority of the oxygen on the Earth is produced by phytoplankton in the ocean. And they're basically very small floating algae that do photosynthesis. And they hang out mostly at the surface because that's where the sunlight is.
Oh.
So as you go deeper in the ocean, it gets darker and darker because it's basically the light is blocked, so that's basically a shadow.
Right.
So now that's no longer happening. So the light is now going to penetrate through the entire ocean, which actually is going to look super fucking cool.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because it effectively makes the ocean clear, so you're going to be able to see down into the ocean like you can look up into the sky. And the only difference is going to be like the particles in the water are going to act like a little bit of a fog. So it's going to be like a misty cloud that you're like on top of. But you're going to be able to see like down through a lot of it. And there's going to be like fish, quote unquote, flying around.
Right.
So that's the cool mental image that I'm just kind of holding on to. But what happens next is the number of phytoplankton can now just exponentially increase because they can live at any depth because there's light everywhere.
They'd still float to the top, right? Or not?
Yeah, they're still buoyant, but like I don't think they're like as like single-celled organisms, I don't think it takes them much to adapt to being lower.
I guess pressure would eventually be a problem. So there is like a limit on it, but
even the pressure I don't think is too much of a problem because they're so small. It doesn't really affect them.
Yeah.
They're really just super
pushed
small.
together though.
And even if it's not exactly these phytoplankton, like you're gonna
yeah.
They evolve, like one-cell organisms evolve very quickly. That's why you have always update the antibiotics like every year because they just keep producing and changing.
Change that one cell, so
you're going to get a lot of phytoplankton in the ocean, which is good because it makes a lot of oxygen. I don't know. I didn't calculate the exact amount because the limiting factor I think is going to be the nutrients in the water as opposed to the actual amount of sunlight now, and I didn't know how to calculate that for my new phytoplankton world. But I will say, even in more moderate circumstances, an increase in phytoplankton is not good for the fish. I don't know if you guys have heard of the red tide or any other of the algal blooms in the ocean. But yeah, so basically, if you get a big amount of algae in one place, the byproducts of their processes actually makes the water toxic for fish. And oops, we've killed all the fish again.
Yep.
So we got a lot of trees. We got a lot of algae. We got a lot of oxygen. So I guess we can maybe bring down dinosaurs eventually. Because we can have that oxygen-rich atmosphere again. But all the fish are dead, which is a bummer.
So that, because you said you had that mental image of fish flying around, but you didn't mention they were dead.
Yeah, it would be cool for like a day, and then all the fish would die, and you'd be like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
Now you can just watch all the fish like slowly float up or down, depending on what type of fish they are. So yeah, that's what I got. Kill the ocean, kill the fungi, save the plants. Ben, what do you got?
So I looked more at people, mostly people. And particularly, the thing I sort of started realizing very quickly was that it was going to be really, really hard in this shadowless world to sleep during the day. Because today, if, you for whatever reason have to sleep during the day, you can you close your curtains. If you do it a lot, you get blackout curtains or one of those sleep masks, and you can, do pretty well.
It'll just be bright all the time.
Exactly. But yeah, exactly. Curtains aren't going to do anything. Your ceiling isn't going to do anything because the light just goes through that too. So it's just going to be like you're sleeping in the daylight all the time.
It's like you're sleeping outside, sort of.
Pretty much, yeah. So I was wondering if you can adapt to that, if it's just something that feels weird and get used to it. But apparently exposure to light actually stimulates this nerve pathway in your eye that controls the hormones and your body temperature and stuff that are part of what makes you feel sleepy or awake. So I guess there are people who can sleep in light, but it's not going to be as effective, and it's going to be just a sort of bad, thing long term. It's not going to be great. So what are the effects of this? There's two real groups of people I realize are going to be really affected by this. First off, is going to be people who live either far north or far south. So the Arctic or down, Antarctica. So, obviously with regards to daylight, those places have some weird shit going on. So there's a town, the northernmost town in Alaska, Barrow, has a stretch of 67 days of darkness in the winter and a stretch of 80 days of sunlight in the summer. So what I think is actually going to happen is that a place like that, even though it's going to be ludicrously cold, it's actually going to be a vacation spot in the winter. Just because you can go there and stay in a resort where basically the draw is you can sleep whenever the fuck you want. Which I think is going to be very appealing to people.
It's dark.
Exactly. It's dark. You can just sleep whenever, which is cool. Those places, unfortunately, will also, I think, be basically uninhabitable during the summer. Because I just don't know a way around literally not having darkness for 80 days. There's just no coming back from that, I don't think. But in the winter, tourist money, so that's cool. And then the other group of people that are affected by this, and the first one I thought of and why I sort of wanted to go down this route, was people who work nights.
Like me. I work nights.
Yep, exactly. So approximately 15 million Americans work full-time on either an evening shift, night shift, rotating shift, or some other like irregular schedule like that. Around 3 million or so of those are actual like graveyard shifts that are just, full-on night shifts. And a lot of times the kind of jobs that these are like hospital workers.
Yeah, nurses.
Yeah, exactly. People working at like plants that need constant maintenance / observation, things like that.
Graveyards.
And when it comes to well, yeah. So when it comes down, there are like security type jobs that are less, vital. But a lot of the time, if people are working in a regular shift like this, it's because the thing they're working on is too important to stop it overnight. So we kind of want to make sure that they're still at pretty, peak performance as much as possible, I think. So generally people who have a schedule like this will, they'll work at night and then sleep in the day using blackout curtains or sleep mask or whatever. But you can't really do that anymore. So I looked into some ways you could get around this. So the first thing I thought of was sedation, which I know, that's a terrifying thing to start going down. It doesn't really work.
It's like the first thing I thought of was sedation. Always forefront in my mind.
Now we have that audio clip.
Yep, that's going to get played at my trial someday. It's going to be great. But yeah, the problem is sedation is not really a good long-term option because the way that sedatives work is by just, when you go to sleep naturally, your brain just sort of, there's hormones and stuff that come out that make you fall asleep. Sedation basically just makes your brain work worse. It just slows down your brain activity until you fall asleep, which, one, it's fucking terrifying. And then, so while you're using them, you'll be sort of drowsy and muddled even while you're awake because you have this chemical doing that.
So it has none of the benefits of sleep.
I mean, there's you get the physical benefit and you technically do get the mental benefit to a degree, but the sedative will still sort of be in your system,
Okay.
So that seems kind of bad if you're a person who is maintaining a nuclear power plant or something, or, a surgeon or nurse or something. It seems pretty bad. The other issue is that after a few days, the body builds up a tolerance to sedatives. You start needing more.
Oh, important to know. I'll make a note of that one.
Yep, there you go. When you're planning things out.
It's a very educational segment right here.
Measure once, buy twice. That was a dumb joke. All right. But yeah, so obviously, sedatives are not going to be a good... My initial reaction was can you just sedate people who have night jobs all the time? But no, you cannot. So I think you have really a couple of options. I think the one that makes the most sense, you start having to do really weird, complicated schedule rotations where you have, it's kind of like the way that nurses have where they'll do doctors have where they'll have a 24-hour shift followed by, 24 hours off or whatever. You kind of have to do just stuff like that, but for everything that has to happen overnight.
Oh boy.
Which it's gonna get tricky when a lot of the jobs are, you're gonna need twice as many people as you already have for them, basically. So
I just feel really bad for the guy who works at the fucking 24-hour Taco Bell, who's a 18-year-old kid who's been promoted to manager because that it's not actually that big a jump, and it's oh, you're in charge of the schedule, and he's okay, no problem, and he's oh wait, fuck.
Well, so I think that's
and he has to do some complex calculus to get the kids over at Taco Bell. On that
note, I think that just in terms of society, I think there's just a lot fewer places that are open 24 hours. And I think that people in general just all kind of maintain a much more regular sleep schedule because if you don't, you're kind of fucked. Because you're going to be waking up at whenever the sun comes up most likely because there's no way for it to really stop it. So I think everyone is kind of asleep at 10 and wakes up at 6. Just everybody.
There's just an unspoken understanding.
Pretty much, yeah. Because if you don't, you're just going to be getting 4 hours of sleep a night, and eventually you're going to start doing it because you're tired. So, yeah. So some fun societal changes too. Everyone just becomes suburban parents. So that's cool.
So I'm thinking about the way we set up our parameters. If technically the Earth would also on the dark side emit its light, and then I realized,
oh, that's true.
The the light coming in from the sun hits the one side like normal, and then the other side of the Earth, the sunlight is coming up from the ground.
No.
Well, I was gonna bring this up before, but I wanted Ben to get through his answer because it kind of shuts down his answer that it's always gonna be daytime.
It is always going to be daytime.
Well, it's I think it's just the type of interpretation that you do. Like,
Yeah.
the interpretation is fine as, it's light, there's no shadows, but there's still nighttime.
So I can quickly amend my answer to if it's just always daylight everywhere. Hey, we all die of exhaustion.
Yay!
Cool.
Gotta
All
cook one
the
in there.
people. The trees will reign supreme.
So here you get both answers there. You get the it's still dark on one side of the Earth, which is a nice complicated explanation, and it's bright everywhere, which is a nice simple one, which is just that we are all dead. So that's good, because I don't think we're going to actually kill everyone anywhere else in this episode. So I'm glad we got that in there. So that's my answers, I guess. There's a little bonus answer.
Bonus answer.
Mm-hmm. It's like we answered 2 questions 3.33 times or something. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, Chris, what'd you do?
Okay, so I didn't look at plants or people or anything. I looked at cameras, because cameras are like very reliant on light.
This is true.
So the way that old film cameras worked is they had a film that had like light sensitive chemicals on it, and actually kept it in like light proof cylinders so it wouldn't like ruin the film. And the way it works is when you push the button, the shutter opens and it lets some light in, and the light goes through the aperture, and then it hits the film, and the film sort of captures that information. And then when you want to develop it, they bring it to a dark room, they dip it in a bunch of chemicals, and that makes a bunch of negative images, and then they like flip the negative images to get the actual image that you see.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no shadows, none of this is possible at all.
Right.
Great.
So, yeah, there won't be any dark rooms, so you wouldn't be able to develop it, and you wouldn't even be able to take a picture in the first place because the film would just be ruined, like, instantly.
So what if I am a 21st century man and use a digital camera?
So digital cameras, that's what I was going to next.
Segways.
Yeah.
I know, I guessed it. I use my strong intuition that Chris was going to talk about digital cameras
Right,
next.
Sherlock Holmes over here.
By the power of deduction. There's 2 types of cameras.
So digital cameras don't require a darkroom to like develop it. It's just all electronic, but they do still have like they capture the image the same way. So instead of like light sensitive film, they just have like a light sensor, and then when you push the button, the shutter still opens, the light still goes through the aperture, and it just hits a sensor instead of film.
Mm-hmm.
So that process is still not possible. If you could somehow capture the information, then it would be possible, but there's no way to capture it.
Right.
So we wouldn't really be able to make pictures or like photos. We'd be able to like draw stuff, I guess. So our pictures would all be like hand drawn, like back in the olden days.
Or like you can't do like photos in courtrooms, so there's always like the court like artists.
Yeah, I always like how long does it take them to make those?
I don't know, but have you seen that?
I mean, they have the whole trial.
Have you seen the I think it's Tom Brady. It's like the super fucked up version of Tom Brady from the court artist. Have you seen that picture?
No, I haven't seen that one. I was thinking of the Papa John's one.
Oh, Papa John's one was also really good.
Yeah. So, photo cameras aren't a thing anymore. Video cameras are also not a thing because video cameras are basically just, it works the same way as a photo camera, but it like the shutter rapidly opens and closes at like 24 frames per second, or they're starting to get higher than that, but it just takes like a bunch of pictures basically.
Right.
So no more video cameras. We don't have video anymore. So we can't have like live action movies, but we can have animated movies still. So all of our movies will be animated.
I like this idea.
So one really weird thing that I'm thinking about, so we as a culture won't know what shadows are. So everything's going to look really flat in CG.
Well,
I mean, it will in real life too, but
we don't need like that would reflect the real world.
It'll just be weird. Yeah,
like shadows
it's just,
aren't a thing.
Yeah. It's just I was thinking about like It's not just like, oh, it's not like everything's like Toy Story 3, because Toy Story 3 has fucking shadows in it. So,
Does your depth perception get fucked? Because
I'm actually wondering.
Maybe you're like, because I think we recognize a lot of object shapes by their shadows.
Yeah.
I don't think depth perception is two images overlaid.
Yeah, that's nothing to do
I
with
think it messes
shadows.
up our like.
There.
I think what messes up is our like silhouette recognition.
Well, there would be no silhouette.
Yeah, so you don't have to
Well,
worry
no,
about
there's
that.
still a silhouette, because there's still like what you see when you see like a shape in the distance, but like it'll just be like the 2D shape of them because there's no like contour from the shadows.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway, so we'd have a bunch of animated movies. Problem is, we have really no way to like watch these animated movies because you probably tried to watch a movie on a projector in daylight before, and it doesn't work at all.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And then screens, like TV screens,
You can just like see it if a screen actually works. You can just like see it through a wall now, couldn't you?
see it through a wall.
Because
it's just light.
The screen emits light.
Oh. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I just realized.
Oh
that.
god, all screens will become a giant Picasso painting, like that covers the entire world.
How would that work? Because the light's still being reflected off the wall, but then it's also the light from the screen's coming through it too from the other side.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you would see.
I don't know.
Probably a blend
You would
of the
see
two
it fine.
images.
You would see it fine. Like, say you had a projector on your wall. You would see it fine. But also, your neighbor on the other side of the wall would see it fine.
Yeah.
And if you pointed your projectors at each other, then they would overlap.
Oh shit, we can do movie like mashups. This is great. I'm sorry, we've entirely derailed you at this point.
Well, I don't, because projectors wouldn't work at all because like there's light
Right,
everywhere.
there's too much light.
So it
yeah.
cancels. It like, I don't know exactly what it does, but like sort of cancels out the picture.
Yeah. It just overwhelms. You can't make a projector bright enough to overwhelm the like natural light.
Yeah, I thought we were talking about screens because you said if you put a screen behind a wall.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I meant like a TV screen or like a computer screen. Or whatever. Yeah.
But even that, like, if you have a TV screen, you've probably had the problem where like there's a window behind you and it's sunny outside, so there's a huge glare on the TV.
Right.
Oh, I hate that.
So
That's your life now.
yeah, that's basically what the TV is. It's just a giant glare. They do have matte finish TVs that aren't glossy, but that just diffuses the light. It doesn't reflect it, but it diffuses it, so it like spreads it across the screen, so it just makes the entire picture brighter.
Yeah.
So that's not going to work either. They do have low glare screens with QLED TVs. It's not completely glareless, but it's low glare. But those could possibly work, I guess. But the thing is, after I discovered those QLED TVs, my mind kind of like looped back to the cameras, and I was like, wait a minute. Your eyes work like cameras.
That's a good point.
Your eyelids are the shutters. Your eye itself is like the sensor of film or whatever. So you can't really close your eyes or anything. That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben, what's your studies about people having their eyes open all the time?
Yeah.
It's not great. I mean, so you still
Not
at
great for
least, like,
sleeping, bad for sleeping.
you still at least like, move the liquid around your eye and get, dust away and stuff, so that's cool. But when you close your eyes, you still see just fine. So that's fucking weird.
Yeah, I think this question, the cracks are starting to show and it's falling apart. I think we gotta get out
Are
of
you
here.
guys just blinking right now and like wondering
uncomfortably
about it?
and
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
So I'm gonna just go on to the ad break so that we don't have to deal with this anymore.
That's a good idea.
This week's ads are hungover. Instead, hit the dance floor.
Lis-moi, je t'ai pris ma fille sauvage, J'ai depuis ma vie sauvage de dompter la bête ce soir à ma chérie, ma petite sauvage. La 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 Lolita, lis-moi, lis-moi. La 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 Lolita, lis-moi, lis-moi.
Say it like you mean it. Oui, je t'aime moi non plus. I just wanna hear it. All I wanna hear from you. Say it like you mean it. Oui, je t'aime moi non plus. I just wanna hear it. All I wanna hear from you.
Welcome back, everybody. We are going to dive right into our next question, which is, what if all sports balls weighed 10 pounds?
So we said that all the balls are 10 pounds, but they stay the same size and shape. So they look exactly the same. They
They're
just
much
weigh
denser,
10 pounds.
generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have all like the same properties and stuff. So like if a ball is bouncy, then it's still bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
And the first sport that I looked at was volleyball. So there's some obvious problems.
I just
with
laugh
this.
every time I think of a sport in this context.
Yeah. So a normal volleyball usually weighs around 0.6 pounds. So 10 pounds is like a dramatic increase.
Yeah.
And some of the problems that I saw in this are obviously there's going to be like arm injuries and like head injuries and stuff if you have a 10-pound ball flying around. It's going to be really dangerous.
Yeah.
It's basically a bowling ball.
Yeah, it's a bowling ball, but it's still bouncy. Which
Bowling could be so much cooler with just one small change.
it's actually kind of hard for me to like picture a bouncy 10-pound ball.
Yeah, me too.
It's a medicine ball, like those medicine balls
Oh,
in
yeah,
the gym.
yes.
I guess,
so.
yeah, that does it.
Yeah.
Those are bouncy-ish, and they're 10 pounds.
Yeah. Okay. And then the second problem I saw was that it'll be really hard to serve it. So I wanted to try to solve these two problems. And the serving problem, so the serving range is around like 40 to 50 feet. So they serve it from 30 feet from the net. So I guess a minimum of 30 feet is what you need to serve, but you want to go a little further. You don't want to just place it right at the net. And for comparison, a men's shot put weighs 16 pounds and a women's shot put weighs 9 pounds. So I started looking at like shot put throwing distances, and like Olympic shot put throwers, they can throw around 60 to 70 feet, but they're also like super fit and
So
like the
I'll
peak
actually,
of...
because I wound up looking at shot put as well for
Yeah.
mine. The
Okay.
world record is 75 feet 10 inches.
Yeah. So they can definitely serve. So I was going to say that all the servers have to be shot put throwers. I actually don't know like what the average distance is outside of the Olympics. So maybe they have to be Olympic shot put throwers.
I would guess that if the world record is 75 feet, some like pretty decent amateur shot putters can probably do like 40-ish.
40 to 50. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can have like just an average shot put thrower.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have to be shot put. They cannot be hit like regular
yeah.
volleyball, because I
Yeah.
imagine that would just break
That just
all, your,
shatters wrists.
Yeah.
all your upper bones.
Right. Which brings us to the second problem, which is the dangerous aspect of this. Obviously, you're going to break your bones if you hit a 10-pound ball. So instead of hitting it with like your bare limbs, I was thinking of some sort of like trampoline gloves or something. I don't know exactly what these would be. But I imagine like you're just covered in trampolines. Like mini trampolines. Like you wear a helmet that has a trampoline on it. Your stomach will have a trampoline. Yeah.
What if you're just in a like a big Zorb ball?
Zorb ball?
Like Zorbing?
Okay, you got to back up on this. What the fuck is zorbing?
It's the New Zealand thing where you're in that big clear ball that rolls
Oh.
down the hill.
Oh, okay.
I think it's zorbing, right? Yeah, I think it's pretty sure it's called that.
I'll take your word on that one, man.
So if you that's how you have an omnidirectional trampoline is you are just a big inflatable ball, and now you're 100% trampoline with no
How
weird
do you-
in between spaces around like neck height.
How do you like move around and stuff?
You can have your legs sticking out the bottom.
So you don't have to actually hit it. You just move to where it's going and it bounces off of you.
Yeah, like you hit it with your whole body, like you're like a big mushroom or something.
And then you can bounce off of other players.
Yeah, you can still do it. You're
Do
just gonna
team
be
bounces.
It's gonna be harder to control, admittedly.
You think?
Probably.
Just a smidgen.
So maybe that's a solution.
You gotta be very momentum conscious.
Yeah.
And that's actually basically as far in depth as I got with volleyball, because I couldn't think of any other solutions.
What if you're covered in trampolines? I
Yeah,
don't know.
covered in trampolines. I had the shot put thing. And the second sport I did was soccer. So a normal soccer ball weighs 1 pound, so 10 times that. And some of the problems I saw here were pretty similar to the volleyball problems. It's harder to kick. You could actually maybe like break or injure yourself kicking it. You could potentially trip over the ball just because it's so heavy. A lot of people tripping.
Unlike regular soccer, where no one ever
Yeah.
trips.
No one ever fake trips.
Yep.
And then another, like a lot of soccer players, they like headbutt the ball and chest bump the ball. You definitely won't be able to do that.
Unless you have a big mushroom zorb on top of you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess your Zorb ball thing could work for all sports. It's a universal sport thing.
I've actually seen like bumper soccer where they do like not covering the head. It's like a ring around them, like a fat ring, like from shoulders to like mid
Like
thigh.
one of those like sumo wrestler costumes.
Yeah.
Like one of those sumo wrestle costumes, but it's just like around you in
Right.
like a donut shape. And they play soccer, but it's like contact soccer, and then you just run into each other.
That's amazing.
Actually, I think I've seen that too.
Yeah, in fact, I have too.
Yeah, so those are the problems, and I wanted to try to solve them. So my first solution, just in general, just make the field smaller, just so it's easier to kick the ball like to where you need to go.
Right.
And then instead of kicking the ball, because I feel like we don't really want to have people like breaking their feet and stuff. So instead of kicking, you're just gonna give it all the players sledgehammers, and that's how they're gonna hit the ball.
So it's basically polo, but with
Sort
no horses
of.
and with
The sledge-
sledgehammers.
I mean, you can make the sledgehammers like foot shaped.
That counts, right?
Yeah,
It's funny you bring that up because it is spoilers, a small part of my answer, but
foot shaped sledgehammers.
not foot shaped, just sledgehammers.
Oh, okay.
And I came across it under the sport Mondo Croquet.
Oh man.
Okay.
I'm guessing bowling balls and sledgehammers.
Yep, just croquet with bowling, balls and
Awesome.
sledgehammers. But the image, there's only one image associated with this sport, and this dude, I'm gonna describe him from, I guess, the bottom up. He's got, his sledgehammer on the ground. He's wearing brown shoes. He's got jeans with a rip at the knee, and then he's wearing a nice dress shirt, a red suit jacket, and then what I'm pretty sure is a bronzed hat.
I just-
like a top hat.
I just found the image. I posted it in our Discord that we use to communicate with each other. I will also put it up on Facebook when this episode comes out because it is incredible.
Yeah, and then in addition to this crazy looking man who's like very intently staring at his bowling ball that is like 3 inches away from him, there's also just a stake in the ground with a pink stuffed animal elephant with that's holding a little heart.
Oh, that's an elephant. I was wondering what that was.
And so I just and he just seems to be, he appears to be just in the middle of like an intersection, like in one of those island greenery, like where it's like an island in the middle of like 4 big roads. So I don't know what came to be that this picture happened, but I want to be part of it.
Okay, no, so what this is the 16th annual Mondo Croquet and Mad Hatter Picnic in Portland.
So you gotta go to Portland.
There are more images, actually. So yeah, we're going to have a Facebook post about this, definitely. There's apparently a group photo, a bunch of people who are decked out as such.
I don't understand what the theme is.
The theme is hats and Mondo Croquet.
Yep.
Okay.
So foot sledgehammers.
Yes, foot sledgehammers. The problem with the foot sledgehammers is it kind of like adds to the danger problem with like falling balls, like falling 10-pound balls on like your head and stuff. Because like in soccer, a lot of times they would kick it up really high and then to like guide it back down to the ground, they'll like chest bump it or something and it goes to the ground. They won't be able to do that. And there'd be like a really big danger of just like getting hit by the ball. So to solve this, I think everyone would just be wearing suits of armor.
Everyone would just be covered in trampolines.
Yeah, it works for both.
I do like the suit of armor idea.
Yeah, so everyone's in the suit of armor. Obviously, it's hard to run in a suit of armor with a sledgehammer. So I think people just aren't going to run in this sport anymore. They're going to have like their one spot. Maybe they can like walk around a little bit, but it's not going to be a running sport anymore. So you're going to have to like position each player in strategic spots, basically just spread out in like lines or whatever, something throughout the field. And the goalkeepers, I think, because the goalkeepers are also going to be wearing a suit of armor because obviously they're in the most danger. So I think there's going to be 3 goalkeepers because they're not going to be able to move around and you need 3 goalkeepers. And that means that there are 13 players instead of 11 players on each team, which is what foosball has. And I've just created giant foosball.
I like had hints of it, and I was gonna stop you if you didn't say foosball.
Yeah, that's what my whole answer was. I was trying to make it go to that.
Oh, I love it.
So, yeah, those are my 2 sports. Marcus, what did you do?
All right, so my first sport I covered is golf. And so, obviously, golf has a similar problem to soccer and volleyball and getting the ball moving. So, the first thing I was looking at was what would be like the equivalent material that this ball would have. Like, how would you have to make this golf ball to make a tiny golf ball weigh 10 pounds? Because they weigh only 0.1 pound right now. And so a golf ball 1.7 inches in diameter has a volume of 2.5 inches cubed. This gives a density of 111 pounds per cubic inch.
It's pretty dense.
The densest metal that naturally occurs is osmium, and that is only 22 pounds per cubic inch. And the densest man-made element is hassium, which is only 44 pounds per cubic inch. But this is already where you're getting into those like man-made elements, because hassium only lasts 22 seconds. So basically, if you're going to make a 10-pound golf ball the size of a golf ball, you have made a hyper-dense radioactive element, and it is not going to be stable, and it is going to explode or radiate or whatever the hell these things do. So you cannot... The ball has to increase in size. So I was like, okay, so what if we make the ball out of osmium? You can do it. Osmium is stable enough to make a golf ball out of. Hassium is not. You do not want to play a 22-second game of golf. Problem is, osmium costs about $13,000 per kilogram. So while admittedly golf is a rich man's sport, each ball costing $60,000 is probably not
Some people would do
in the
it.
cards. Yeah, I'm sure some people golf with solid gold golf balls and all that, but the sport needs to remain a little accessible. So the closest element by price, which was actually nice, it was actually a nice little conversation I found online. It was between like physics teachers, and the teacher was like, I had this moment when I was a student, and like my physics teacher had like a thing of mercury that was super heavy, and like it like left an impression on me, so I want to do that for my students, and I'm trying to get like heavy elements. And this one guy just like, here's a list of all the elements with like what their per kilogram price is. And it was like a little feel-good story for me. But anyway, the best we're going to do is tungsten, which just beats out uranium. So tungsten, instead of 22, is actually still 19 grams per centimeter cubed. And so tungsten only costs $35 per kilogram. So when we make our ball, it's only going to cost us $160 per golf ball.
That's a lot better.
It's a lot better. It's a lot, but it's a lot better. And to get our 10-pound ball, our ball size is actually going to increase to 3 inches in diameter, which is a decent bit bigger than like a billiard ball, which is like 2.25 inch.
Okay, that's reasonable, I think.
We have a fairly decent sized ball, which is good. It's actually helpful for us because we have to get this ball all the way to the other side of a golf course. And the question is, how do we get it there? hitting it is not really a great option. I actually watched a video of a deleted episode or a episode that never made it into fruition for a bowling trick shot show where a guy was trying to hit a strike with by hitting a bowling ball with a golf club. And basically after like 4 attempts where the ball like barely moved and like went to the gutter, he did the 5th attempt where he tried to hit it harder and just ended up injuring himself. And the ball still didn't go anywhere. It went in the gutter. So golf clubs are out of the question. They will break, you will injure yourself, and it will be a bad time.
Why did he think that would work?
I didn't think it would work.
Why did
but I
he
just wanted
think
to
it
see
would work?
Oh, this was for doing bowling trick shots. This was not him trying to golf on a golf course. This was him just trying to get the ball to the other side of the lane.
Right. Why did you think that would work?
I don't know. I guess you run out of bowling trick shots idea when you have to do a whole show about it.
I think there aren't too many, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's like a couple, like between the legs, like spin
I don't think
it.
that's a trick shot between the legs. That's like you don't know how to bowl.
No, like backwards between the legs.
Oh, okay.
And like one-handed and like good and like you get a strike. Anyhow, of all the bad bowling trick shots, this one was definitely the worst. So I worked with a few different concepts, but the one I ended up happiest with for driving was just to stick that shit in a cannon. So our 3-inch ball isn't actually too far off the standard size of 4.5 inches for a 12-pound cannonball. So these cannons already exist. Generally, for a 12-pound cannonball in the cannon has a range of about 600 yards. But that's in a 4.5-inch barrel. So we have to reduce the barrel size to be 3 inches because you can't have extra space. So factoring that we're going to put less gunpowder in it, I imagine we can still manage about 250 to 300 yards with our cannon shot bowling ball. Which is perfect because that's about the distance of like a regular golf drive. So we're going to be shooting the shit with cannons. But with golf, you need a range of shots. So you need a medium shot, and you need a putting shot. So for the medium shot, you're switching from a cannon to a giant slingshot. Where I found a video where a guy, he had this like homemade giant slingshot, shooting firing conveniently bowling balls, which are about the same weight as our golf ball, and he was managing about 100 yards. So that's basically perfect for our mid-range shots. And then lastly, for the putting, as you may have already guessed, we're going to go to the Mondo Croquet route and just use sledgehammers to get the ball over into the green. Because you're going to need that little bit of extra control to actually putt.
Are they shaped like feet?
No, they're shaped like comically sized golf putting clubs.
Okay.
So yeah, cannons, slingshots, and sledgehammers. And that's how you're going to play golf from now on.
sounds fun.
How much does a cannon cost? Because you're trying to keep costs down.
Oh, how much does a cannon cost? That's a good question.
Probably not too much, actually.
How much does a cannon cost? Well, a Canon camera costs $450 on eBay. How much does a Canon cost per hour? God. No, it's going into historical ones, so...
Yeah, I don't know the good way to find that. Like, replica cannon? How much?
I once heard a company that does repo guns quoted us at $250,000, but I feel that is too low.
So it's still a rich man's sport.
Oh, no, this is... Oh, sorry, I just saw a diagram. This thing is fucking ridiculous. This is like a steampunk contraption with a cannon on top.
I imagine a cannon's going to be more expensive than a golf club.
Yes, it is. Depending on the golf clubs. I'm sure there's some very expensive golf clubs. Anyhow, moving on from golf. It's expensive. Get over it.
Right.
The next sport that I looked at was water polo. So, for those of you not familiar with water polo is kind of like soccer, and then you need to get a ball into a net, except that you're playing in a deep pool and you throw the ball with your hands.
Which I have no idea how they play that sport.
Yeah,
That's
It is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's typically played with a volleyball-esque type ball, and the key here is that you have to tread water the entire time you're playing. So you have to have so much endurance already for this game. Now we're adding a 10-pound ball into the equation. So my first question was, can you actually swim if you're carrying like a good amount of weight? And I found out divers will actually often train by going into pool, like, diving into the pool and then carrying weights up from the pool. Plus they have all the diving equipment. All of this is in excess of 10 pounds. So you can definitely stay afloat carrying 10 pounds. The real trick of it, I think, is in the shooting. So, like, you are literally, like, just treading water, and the way you shoot is basically just kind of, like, give yourself a burst of upward to get, like, your shoulders out of the water, and then you just kind of, like, use the resistance of the water to, like, get as much speed on your arm as possible to throw the ball. But with a 10-pound ball, like, I don't know if you're getting your shoulders out of the water anymore. And two, even if you get a shot off, it's just going to be, like, the distance is not gonna be there.
And the other problem is, so say you throw this ball, and regardless of whether it goes in or not, it's sinking directly to the bottom of the pool.
Oh yeah, so someone has to go dive again. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
After every single like missed pass or shot attempt, someone has to dive down and get the ball again.
You also have a designated diver.
Yeah,
And he can do it.
probably. Yeah,
He's the
honestly.
only one who's not allowed. He's the only one who's not allowed to drink. So I tried to bring. So I'm in the same camp as Chris here, and I didn't actually manage to fix this sport. Like, so the problem is, I don't have a lot of knobs I can turn to make this game work.
Right.
Do trampolines help?
No, it's people in a pool with a ball.
Put trampolines in there.
The ball knob is the ball knob is turned to 0,
Yeah.
or I guess to 10.
This ball goes to 11.
Yeah, the ball goes to 11. The people knob is people.
Right.
And I think if you make the pool shallow, you've kind of taken all the spirit out of water polo.
And that doesn't even really solve the sinking problem all that much.
Wait, I just thought, what if you just have a floaty? What if you just have like one of those ring floaties like that you put little kids in?
Everyone has a noodle.
Everyone has a noodle with an equivalent buoyancy force of 10 pounds.
Perfect.
Yes.
No, I don't think that works. I don't think that fixes it.
No, yeah, I don't think so either.
I think it's just a bad sport now. It's just the worst.
Yep.
It's just, it went from like already one of the least fun sports to play, like energy, like effort wise, to just the junkiest. But I just love the mental of just like someone catching the water polo ball and then just immediately like sinking into the water. So we are 2 for 4 now on fixing sports. Ben, can you put us over 50%?
All right. Well, I only have one shot at this because I actually only wound up doing one sport because I chose baseball, and it turns out you can go pretty deep on baseball. So to start, so a baseball weighs somewhere between 5 and 5.25 ounces. So the 10-pound ball is like 30 times heavier, which is obviously going to change a lot of things about the sport. So, to start, pitching. Much like Chris, I wound up looking at shot put because the distance from the pitcher's mound to home plate is like just over 60 feet. So, you're not going to be able to pitch it normally. That's just not going to work. But, as Chris mentioned, the shot put, like the men's shot put is 16 pounds. So, the ball was actually going to be even lighter than that. And the record, like I said, is about 75 feet. So you can definitely get it from the pitcher's mound to home plate shot put style.
Probably be pretty easy to hit.
So that's what I was wondering, because you can't really do like different pitches anymore.
Yeah.
Because pitches rely on, spin. And I don't think you can spin a 10-pound ball very well while throwing it.
Or if you do, if it'll make any difference.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But when
all those pitches are now sinkers.
So what I think you can, pretty much, yeah. What I think you can do though is I think that between the fact that you already have some like distance leeway, and you also, because the ball is lighter, I think you can vary basically the angle like that you release it at to either have it be more straightforward or more of an arc, and that's kind of how you're going to have like different pitches to make it tricky. It will still be probably easier to hit, but I don't think it'll be super easy, particularly because
it's probably not going to be going that fast.
Well, but here is the thing though, and this is what we're going to get to next, is now you do have a 10-pound object you're trying to redirect with a bat, which is tricky. So the first thing I looked at was just how much force can a player put on a baseball like now. So conveniently, Major League Baseball actually does a bunch of like way too much like data tracking, which is super awesome if you love data like me.
You don't say. Baseball going overload on statistics?
I know, right? So one of the things they track now is they track basically the exit velocity of like every hit. So when the player makes contact, what speed, what velocity is the ball leaving the bat at? So the hardest...
Why would they ever need that information?
Because it's cool. I mean, like, okay, legitimately, you can do some cool stuff where you look at, like, the angle the ball leaves and the velocity it leaves and map out what should have happened based on, like, historically how that, how that has worked out.
Or, like, a grade school physics problem.
Also that. Or this podcast. So on August 9th of 2018, Giancarlo Stanton of the New York Yankees hit a ball with an exit velocity of 121.7 miles per hour. That was the hardest hit ball of the season. Fun fact also, Giancarlo Stanton, of the 10 hardest hit balls this year, Stanton had 8 of them. He is a beefy boy, and he hits balls very hard. So that
Everyone's
ball,
got to have their thing.
that ball went 449 feet. The pitch was thrown at 91.9 miles per hour. So because we have... The distance doesn't really matter. That was just for fun. It just went very far. That's cool. But because we have both of the velocities, we can actually figure out how much force he put on the baseball. Because you can basically... The average force is going to be the mass times the final velocity minus the mass times the initial velocity, all divided by the duration of like impact. So the contact time on a baseball hit it varies, but it's around 0.7 milliseconds. So use that equation, it works out to about like 19,500 newtons, which is about 4,400 pounds of force. That's the average force. It's actually, the peak is going to be higher than that because it's kind of like a sine wave, the force on the ball. So the actual like peak force is going to be about 4.5 tons. And that's with our regular ball. That's just like actual, real baseball right there. So that's crazy.
Do you know how much a normal baseball weighs?
About 5 ounces. About 5 ounces. Yeah. Yeah, which that was part of that equation as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But because we have that force, we can use that same force to figure out the acceleration on the ball if the ball was 10 pounds. And that, just using good old F equals ma, you get like 980 meters per second squared. So if you have the same contact time of 0.0007 seconds, your exit velocity is 0.686 meters per second or 1.53 miles per hour, which is not very fast. But hold on, we can fix this. Because we've made an assumption that I think is wrong, which is that I don't think the contact time is that amount of time anymore because the ball has so much more momentum.
Right.
So what I did, and I know this is almost assuredly 100% wrong, but I needed something to use, and we're so far into an arbitrary tale right now that I don't care about like the accurate way to do this. It's 30-ish times heavier, so I said it's in contact for about that much times longer. So about 0.021 seconds. So probably wrong, but we needed something arbitrary, and that's as good as anything else. So if you do that, you wind up with 20.57 meters per second or 46 miles per hour, which is baseball adjacent, which I will accept.
Your math is so wrong.
I am aware of this. There's also even one more issue that I'm glossing over entirely, which is that this is all assuming just a modern day wooden baseball bat, which would 100% disintegrate on contact.
Along with modern day baseball arms.
So
And baseball bones.
Yep.
And baseball, like, everything.
we're ignoring the catcher in the situation too, because yep. But yeah, so yes, the ball would the bat would 100% just disintegrate. So you're going to need a different bat. It would be made of something much stronger. I think you could actually make it work. I think.
So you haven't changed batting at all. You just said batting works.
Batting, it's going to be, you're going to be swinging much more slowly because the bat's going to be heavier.
Okay.
But the ball is also going to be moving more slowly, so I think it works out to about the same, like, relative,
Hey, let's make baseball slower.
pretty much. Well, so there is so we worked out pitching and hitting, but then we get to fielding. Fielding is tricky. So here's the problem is that's like the strongest you could or like the hardest you could possibly hit the ball. So it's probably not getting too far out of the infield in that situation. And the ball is not really going to roll anymore because it's just going to like slam into the ground and it weighs 10 pounds. It's just going to like make a huge divot and be in the ground now. So I figure you don't really have outfielders anymore because you just don't need them. They're going to be too far away to do literally anything ever. So I figure you basically have like the normal baseman you have now plus like 2 more infielders just kind of in the middle of the infield.
Inner infielders.
Inner infielders, exactly. Also, the ball could totally kill someone, so sort of stay out of its way until it's the ground. I don't think you can catch the ball anymore. I think it would just destroy you. So I think you no longer like catch the ball to get an out. Really, I guess you could technically try to, but don't. Let it hit the ground, and then what you have to do, it's just sort of make like a chain of players to like pass the ball between to get it to the base before the guy gets there. So I think baseball becomes basically
all the players would run towards the ball and like form a line.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it's like you plan out what your like strategy is depending on where the ball goes, and then like on hit, everyone runs to where they have to, and you like just try to get it over there.
So the new pro baseball players are going to be the high school band members who learn to walk in formation?
Partially. Well, there is one other slight change to the modern baseball player in the 10-pound baseball world, which is that, so let's talk about pitchers again really quickly. So, we're sort of saying you're going to be, like an elite shot putter if you're a pitcher. Pitchers weigh around 200 pounds. Just what baseball players in general weigh around 200 pounds. They're relatively normal shaped for athletes. Elite shot putters weigh from like 260 to like 300 pounds. And we're also assuming you're going to have some sort of crazy giant like wrought iron bat. So the position players got to be a little bulkier too. So basically what this sport is a bunch of like 280 pound dudes all like running around in formations and trying to like throw a very heavy thing to each other. So I think it would actually still be a pretty entertaining sport. And kind of still baseball, almost.
It feels like a very, like, German muscleman sport now.
It feels very much like a German muscleman sport.
Like, the word, the phrase, hoop, hoop,
yeah.
hoop,
Yeah, I was
comes
doing
to
the same
mind.
thing in my head.
Yeah, this is very much what it is. It's just a bunch of, like, very beefy guys, like, hitting a ball about 12 feet, and then everyone else running around and trying to, like, move it about 50 feet by hand before he can run 60 feet or whatever.
I'd watch it.
I would watch it. It sounds fun. But that's baseball now.
That's now baseball.
Little League would be interesting.
I feel like we could also fix the batting by just saying, hey, we're playing basically kickball where the pitcher rolls it, and then we take Chris's foot sledgehammer bat.
I think that would also work, yeah. So that's baseball, kind of.
Oh man, I think you've made it. I think it's a little worse with a 10-pound ball. It might be a little.
It's different. It's different.
It's different.
Is that all we got for? Is that it? Is that all our sports?
I think that's all our sports. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben only had one sport.
I
So
said the one sport.
Your second
Awesome.
sport is bowling.
Yeah, bowling. Bowling is actually so hilarious. I actually looked into bowling, not to actually do it, but as a joke, like I'm doing right now. And apparently, most professional bowlers use like 15-pound balls, so it kind of does fuck them up, but not like
In an opposite way.
yeah.
Yeah, all it would do for professional bowlers is like, man, fucking, I hate these 10-pound balls.
Right, exactly. They just be all really annoyed, and that was kind of it.
All right, well, that'll just about do it for this week. Before we get into next week's questions, I'd like to remind everyone to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, leave a comment, and send us questions. Send us
Questions.
all
We need more
the
questions.
hypothetical questions.
It's hard to think of these.
Yeah, we're running out of space in our spreadsheet where we have questions filled in.
And you can send us those questions at absurdhypotheticals@gmail.com or tweet at us at absurdhype, HYPE hype.
But do that, and then we will be able to join you next week with these following questions. What if space wasn't a vacuum? And what if everyone was invisible?